This is such a happy day to be together with Andrea and Anne and to celebrate their love and above all to celebrate the great sacrament of Christian marriage in this church this morning. But of course, a wedding is much more than just the celebration of two people. We heard when Anne's father spoke at the dinner yesterday evening that a marriage is a union of two families, and we're very, very conscious of that today. I was even more conscious of it as the evening went on, because Anne's father got out a video of the tea ceremony that you'd had just a few months ago, and this wonderful Chinese tradition of the couple coming before the elders of the families and kneeling before them and offering them tea. Have I got it the right way round? And the acceptance of the tea by the elders being a sign of their acceptance of the couple, of the marriage, of the families. And of course there is a little red envelope given in return at the same time as well. But just for us who are not used to this in the West, a wonderful symbol of how marriage is much bigger than just the love of two people. It starts there, and that's absolutely essential, but it brings together two families, different generations, different traditions, different groups of friends as we are in the church together. And just for us to have a special memory today of all those who can't be here, and particularly those who have died. And we've been asked to pray especially for Ruby, your dear grandmother who passed away, and for Dominic, your dear cousin, and to remember all the deceased of both families. It's bigger than families as well. You can see that with you two sitting there. This is a union of two cultures, of two different continents, of two different languages. It's Europe and Asia, it's business and medicine, it's Italy, it's Singapore, it's China. Now look, I don't think this is why you invited me in particular to be the priest today, but I can speak personally of the joy of a multicultural family, because as many of you know, my father is from a Chinese family, from Guangdong, and my mother is British. So I can speak, yes, there are one or two challenges of intercultural marriages, but there are many, many, many blessings as well. So what a great gift it is for you to come together. We're going to hear lots of promises today, especially the wedding vows. You're going to promise to love and honour each other freely and faithfully, to accept children lovingly, to be open to the new life that God may give you, to bring them up in the faith, to be open to God in the sacrament of your marriage. Beautiful, beautiful promises. And you need to make them with your lips and with your minds and with your hearts, so that the gift that you make is not just words and sounds, but it's the gift of your very selves to each other. This is what we mean by unconditional love. I don't know about your different cultures, but in England as children we had a superstition that if you crossed your fingers and held them behind your back when you made a promise, you were allowed to lie and the promise wasn't valid. Well, there are no fingers crossed today. It's a superstition. And actually I was thinking of this very random thought, but when you put your hand out to put the ring onto the fingers, you can't put a wedding ring onto a finger that is crossed. Yeah? The hand is there open to accept the ring. And it's just a tiny, slightly random symbol, but I think a valid one, of the openness and the transparency that you need to have with each other. But this is also about God's promises to you two, and not just your promises to each other or to God. You've chosen a lovely reading from the Old Testament, from the prophet Isaiah. God is present in your marriage, and actually it's faith that brought you together, isn't it? Now that's true of every wedding. We can say in the big scheme of things God has brought people together, which is true. We trust in God's providence. But particularly for you, you came together because of your love for the Lord and your Christian faith and choosing to live in Newman House Catholic Chaplaincy Centre in the centre of London in, I think, 2011, that summer. So when the chemistry started to work in that academic year, I don't know exactly, but sometime between September and July, something clicked, and in that community of faith, a community of friendship was born. And out of that community of friendship, your love and your marriage was born. And I just think that's a lovely symbol as well. That when faith and friendship are at the roots of the love of marriage, it is such an extra gift, because it means you know you're not living this alone, but with the help of God and with the help of your own friendship. You're asking God to bless your marriage today. You're asking for the prayers and the support of family and friends, whatever their faith or none. You've asked us today to pray especially to your patron saints, St. Andrew, St. Anne and St. Joachim, and to remember that we are not alone sitting here, but we're in the spiritual company of all the angels and the saints. And I don't know whether you knew this or not, but today is a very, very special feast day for an English saint. Yeah? So you're Italian and Chinese and Singaporean and you're going to live in Singapore, but you met in England. Today is the feast day of St. Bede the Venerable, one of the greatest English saints, a monk up in Northumbria, a great scholar, a man of prayer and holiness, who is at the heart of the English church and the English faith. So you have another patron today, St. Bede, and something else that links you in a lovely way with the faith of England. What promises does God make you? Well, through the lips of the prophet Isaiah today, God promises to have compassion on his people and on you. He promises his unfailing love for you two in your marriage, and for each one of us, whatever our faith or our knowledge of God. He offers a covenant of peace. The word covenant, an unbreakable promise, a bond, his oath, his solemn oath to you. And then, interestingly, God promises to rebuild the ruins of Jerusalem. So God's promise is not naive. He knows there are difficulties in the people of Israel. He knows there are difficulties in life, in faith, in marriage. But when those difficulties come, God's promise is to rebuild on the foundations of what is important. So for you to know that in the good times God is with you, supporting you, and in the difficult times, should they come, the Lord is equally and maybe even more there at your side, wanting to give you hope and forgiveness, and to rebuild your marriage, and to give you hope even in those difficult moments. And the gospel today, I think this is true. It's the first time ever at my many weddings I've had to preach about the gospel of the Annunciation. Now yes, there is a marriage hidden away there, the betrothal of Mary and Joseph. So there is a wonderful blessing for you in thinking of Mary and Joseph. But it's not particularly a gospel reading about marriage. It's about the unique blessing of the gift of Jesus in the incarnation to the Virginal Mary. So for you to know that Jesus is a gift to you, and for you to bring him to birth through faith in your lives and in your love for each other and for others. But there is an application of the Annunciation for marriage, because what happens to Mary when the angel comes to her? The angel promises that the Holy Spirit will come upon Mary, and that's precisely what is happening to you in your friendship and faith today in this church. The Holy Spirit, God's divine Spirit, true God himself, comes upon the heart of every Christian believer. He comes down to sanctify every sacrament, and the Holy Spirit hovers above you and blesses you in your marriage today, just as he did Mary at the Annunciation. Notice the language. The Holy Spirit will overshadow Mary. Overshadow. In England, this phrase is very negative. If I say to you, you were overshadowed by someone else, it means you were shoved into second place because you weren't quite good enough. In England, to be in the shadows is a bad thing, because the sun is so rare, we want to rush out into the sunshine. This is true in English culture. But in the language and the culture of the Bible, of the Old Testament, of the ancient Near East, and possibly in Singapore as well, the sun is the dangerous place to be. Yeah? The shade is the place of life and safety. If you get stuck in the sun, you will die in the ancient Near East. But if you can find the shade, the shadow, this, strangely for an English person, is a place of life and safety and security and hope. This is why in the Old Testament the tent, the tabernacle, is such an important place, because in the burning sunshine of the desert and the wilderness, the tent, the tabernacle, is the place of safety and life and celebration. So today, the Holy Spirit overshadows the Virgin Mary and gives her the life of Jesus in her virginal womb. And today, the Holy Spirit overshadows you, Andrea and Anne, and gives you the light and beauty and security and safety and life of that protection of his loving overshadowing. God protects you today. He blesses you. He asks you to be a protection and a shade and shelter for each other, for the children that, God willing, he will bless you with, and especially for all your family and friends, and even for your neighbour and the stranger. Your hearts, your family, your marriage, your home is a place of blessing for you both, and we hope and pray it's a place of blessing for many, many other people as well. God bless you today, and many, many congratulations.